Hi everyone, I am standing here in the middle of the woods right next to a nest of turkey eggs that I'm going to show you. Hang on a second. So right here we have a little nest of 8 turkey eggs in a patch of grass in the woods. And when I see nests like that of eggs, it always gets me thinking, because I'm weird, it gets me thinking, what makes a bird, turkeys, chickens, and various other birds, lay an egg, leave all day, go off, gather their food, eat all day long, come back at night, and then lay another egg all day and do that over and over again until they have whatever amount of eggs is appropriate for that type of bird. Like for chickens, it's 9 to 11. For turkeys, I think it's 8 to 10, 9 to 11. When they get a certain amount, now all of a sudden they stay on their eggs and they take care of them every day, except for a short break to eat a little food. They stay there all day long instead of leaving all day. What makes them do that? So I'm not actually going to answer that question right now, but I will later. I will give you my theory later. Right now, I want to talk about quorum sensing because it relates. Many of you may have heard of quorum sensing in relation to bacteria. It's been in the news, a number of times, depending on what kind of news you look at. But anyway, quorum sensing in bacteria is when the bacteria respond to chemicals, hormone-like chemicals called autoinducers. And in a population of bacteria, in some bacteria some of the time, when these chemicals reach a critical threshold, the bacteria actually alter their gene expression. So they become different, and now they perform a different function after they become different. And it was originally thought that the gene altering occurred when there was a threshold, when there were enough individual bacteria present in the system for something to happen. And that's why it got named quorum sensing. Now we know that it's actually a threshold of a chemical that causes the gene alteration, not the quantity of bacteria. But the fact that it was originally named quorum sensing tells us a lot. And it really gets at what I believe is the broader principle that is going on here. So scientists are looking at this in a very, very chemical, molecular way, because most scientists, that's what they do. They dissect, they don't integrate. But I would like to flip this around and integrate it and say, what's the broader principle here, and what other areas of life does this apply to? What is it similar to? What can we maybe learn from it? So if we view this through the energetics lens, so through the lens of the transfer of energy that's always happening in things, and we do what I like to do and look with curiosity, look playfully, and try and draw out concepts them and see what we can learn and what theories we can come up with and things like that, then the world gets ever so much more interesting. And if we apply the broader concept of sensing to the turkey eggs, for instance, might we come up with some answers? And I think we might. If I combine quorum sensing, that concept, with something that I learned from the dog trainer Kevin Bien, who I refer to a lot, who developed the immediate moment theory of energy, of the flow of energy. You can come up with a pretty good theory of how the birds work. So Kevin talks a lot about the emotional center of gravity. and how the emotional center of gravity is somewhere out in the world. So our physical center of gravity is, inside of ourselves. Our emotional center of gravity is somewhere out in the world. And the reason that we move at all, take any action whatsoever, is to what your body, your brain, your body together are trying to do, match with the physical center. So when a turkey lays an egg, she's got some emotional center of gravity in that egg, but there's also a high level of emotional gravity, center of gravity, out in the world where she's, foraging and she's with the other members of the flock and things like that. And so I believe we have something like the principle of quorum sensing going on here. So when there's one egg, that's not enough to have the turkey stay. And when there's 2 eggs, it's not enough. And when there's 3, there's not enough. But when she reaches 9 or 10 or 11, there's a critical threshold there in the emotional. Emotion is energy in motion. So in the emotional realm, there's a threshold that's reached where now her physical center of gravity, it's stronger with the eggs than with the wider world out there. So she will leave, she will go a short distance away to get some food and then return to her eggs until they hatch and can move with her, and then she goes back out into the other emotional pole, bringing what's now chicks with her. So there's a lot of, I believe that many systems in the world have this capacity to detect when enough energy is present to perform a particular task, and then that causes a spontaneous change to some components of the system so that this new action can be performed. And I think we see it all the time, all around us, everywhere. And in turkeys going from laying eggs to incubating eggs to bringing their chicks out into the world is a perfect example of what happens. Another great example, I believe, that you're seeing now is in the riots all over the country. The riots that are going on right now really have nothing to do with the original murder of George Floyd and the original protests that were very understandable around that. The protests morphed from, in a peaceful expression of anger and need for change into just out and out destruction. And the people driving it also changed as best that we can tell. And there's a lot of data showing this. I live in Minnesota. We have a lot of video showing people and things at work other than the original protests that were related to George Floyd. So this spontaneous emotion of destruction, different people happen. And I would say this is another instance of essentially quorum sensing. And the far left, far right wing, I think we have both going on at the same time right now. The far wing groups that in destruction, anarchy and destruction and things like that, for a lot of I won't get into right now, need a certain amount of energy present in the system in order for them to perform their actions. Same thing I was talking about the bacteria and the turkey. And when that energetic threshold is met, they spontaneously change from what I would call like incubation. They may meet and talk about it and develop ideas and plans and anger and whatever else. But it's when a certain energetic threshold in the world and the system is met that they spontaneously change into, now they're into destruction. They're out of incubation and into destruction. That's the action that they take. But that, if that's true, that pertains to human behavior in general. And I would say that right now there's another quorum sensing that's going on that is quieter and slower, but it's happening. And this is the quorum sensing of the people who are working to create a more beautiful world, a world that has flow of energy instead of destruction, just out and out destruction as a retaliation against energies that don't flow, but actually a different side, a different group of people, a different side of it that's trying to create more flow instead of destroying lacks of flow. And this has been a very quiet, long-term building of energy in that direction. More and more people are starting to understand the importance of the flow of energy and how energy works, and that the world is transfers of energy, and you have to work within the rules of nature on the transfers of energy in order to have happiness and fulfillment and health and all these things. And right now, more and more of those people are not just figuring that out themselves, but are combining together. So you're getting little pockets of stronger energy. And as we feel that stronger energy, our energy gets stronger. And then another pocket can detect us, and that makes it even stronger. And you can feel it, those who have been kind of on the forefront of this are feeling it getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And I see a threshold coming. I feel a threshold coming. I understand a threshold coming because I'm looking at things energetically. I'm seeing, the turkey evolving. I'm seeing, the evolution of the system, where soon we're going to reach a threshold where this group of people spontaneously changes into something much stronger, much more close-knit, and much more able than to, because it has that part of the system has evolved. It has evolved into something new, and it'll be able to take more. And when this starts happening and snowballing, because this fits with life, not just human life, but all of life, that the smooth flow of energy is what life is about. As this snowballs, it's going to be bigger and stronger than the quorums that are out there right now, which are really highly ineffective. If there's anything at all out there that's better than that, they're just highly ineffective. Anarchy doesn't work. There is no anarchy in nature. I'll do another whole video on that. There is no anarchy in nature because it does not flow energy. And life is the flow of energy. So all we have to do is get the quorum sensing, achieve the threshold with the people that know how to create flow of energy for life. And the anarchists don't stand a chance. So what we need to do is become more grounded and more solid in this, so that the energy flows within ourselves and within our close groups that we are, so that it can be sensed more strongly. We need to be as grounded as possible for as much flow as possible, so that the sensing of that energy can be as high as possible, so that we can achieve quorum and have this spontaneous evolution into something strong and beautiful of ways that will be what the vast majority of people who want to live gravitate to. And that's going to wipe out not only the anarchists, but the people who are likely behind and supporting the anarchists who are not anarchists. They are have a very high amount of power, of the ugly power. And that power that they currently have right now will just go away when we have achieved that threshold and we evolve into a stronger unit of flow of energy. They will lose their power, which is what they're very afraid of. But it's going to happen. And you and I and anyone who cares about this is going to be a part of it. So be grounded. Allow the flow of energy through you so we can all sense it. And be as open with that as you possibly can. Make an energetic